Hello guys, welcome to a new tutorial. Today we will be recreating the Riptire ability from Overwatch. All project assets will be available in my Patreon for you to download and use in your own projects as you wish. Let's take a quick look into how we will be going to recreate this. We're not going to be using Unity's physics engine for this. Instead, we will be doing all the movement calculations through code to have a more in-depth control over certain aspects of the tire's movement. Here are all the values you will be able to change in the inspector. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, such as duration, damage, radius, and movement speed. Rotation speed is how fast you can turn left and right. Spin speed is how fast the tire rotates on its x-axis. Now, gravity is what it is. It moves you downwards, but there's also a gravity multiplier which basically increases the gravity over time to make it look more realistic. With a multiplier of 0, it won't jump, and a multiplier of 1 will make it fall diagonally. Well, jump height is pretty self-explanatory as well, but this also interacts with the jump mass. The smaller the mass, the higher it will jump. The higher the mass, the faster it will jump. Jump wall ride is what happens at the end of a wall ride. Tire height is how far from the ground the tire will travel. This value is used for the raycasts that detect the ground and walls. Now that you have an idea of how this works, let's begin. I like to start all my tutorials by setting up a scene with a plane and a checker material, then changing the lighting a bit. Create two new empty game objects and make one the child of the other. Make sure their positions are set to 0, then name the parent Riptide and the child Body. Now you can import a 3D model of whatever you want to use as a tire. I'm going to quickly assemble a tire using a bunch of spheres of different sizes and making them a child of the body game object. Cool. We also need to create a new particle system, and this will act as an explosion, so just pause the video right now and create something cool. After that's done, make sure that looping is disabled and play on awake enable, then disable the particle game object. For the camera, I will move it into position by simply dragging it around the scene behind our tire and then making it a child of the Riptire game object. Create a new C# script, call it Riptire controls, and give it to the Riptire game object, then open it using your programming software of choice. We will begin by setting up some variables. These public floats are the ones I explained at the beginning of the video. We also need a new layer masks for our raycast to use. The body of our tire so that we can spin it, a couple of private floats for our jumping calculations as well as our gravity. Two booleans to control our different loops, and lastly the particle system we just created. In start we assign both our body and particle system. Under update we will have quite a few if statements. The first one will be if the duration is smaller than 0, then we create a new function and add it in here. If it's not smaller than 0, then we lower it over time. We will create two temporary variables that will be changed throughout this script to calculate where the tire should be next. First raycast will be downwards to get the ground location. So if this raycast hits and we are not wall riding, then we set our isGrounded variable to true, as well as set our next position using the hit point information we gather from the raycast. We also reset our gravity. Else, we are not grounded, we add gravity downwards. Now we do another raycast. This one will go forward and it is pretty similar to the other raycast, but instead of moving the tire forward, we move it upwards. Else, if we are wall riding, but our raycast did not find anything, then we set our wall ride to false and initiate wall jump. Now, if we are not grounded and not wall riding, it means we are floating. So we have to move the tire forward as well as add gravity to it. Here we multiply the gravity over time to simulate gaining momentum from falling. Let's do our jumping. If we press space, we set a float variable to 0.5. If you have ever done a platformer, you might know this. The way we will handle jumping is by saving a float variable, then checking if this float is above 0 to jump. This is to avoid players from raging because they did not jump when they pressed it because they were not grounded. Now, if our current jump is not equals to 0, we lerp it to 0 smoothly using our mass. We do the same for a wall ride jump. Now we check if we have pressed jump, and if we have, then we do another check to see if we are grounded and are not wall riding. We set off our jump as well as reset the wall ride jump. Outside these brackets, we also lower the jump press over time. Lastly, we add both of our jumps to our next position .y variable and assign it to the tire's transform. Voila, that's it for movement. For rotating left and right, we simply get the horizontal input and multiply it by the rotation speed variable. For spinning our tire, we simply use the spin speed variable and time to rotate not the tire transformer but rather the body. Under our explode function, we begin by enabling the explosion particle system, unparenting it from the tire and destroying it after a few seconds to allow particles to play. Now we get all the colliders within a radius of our tire, and here is where you will damage the enemies. I cannot tell you for sure how to do this properly as your enemy script might be different from mine, but just as an example, you will first find the enemy script from this collider and then check if we have found the enemy script to damage. If you have many different enemy scripts, then you will just duplicate it and do something like this. Okay, last but not least, we destroy our tire, and also right here before we destroy it, you will handle your camera transitions. In my case, I will simply unparent it from the camera so that it does not get destroyed with the tire. And yeah, that's it. Actually, we named our particle system Explode, not Explosion. Whoops. Oh, and I also almost forgot. We need to call our explode function if we press left mouse click. Just add that down here. Okay, all done. Back in our project, we need to change the plane layer mask so that our raycasts work properly. I'll create a new layer mask and call it terrain. Then assign this layer mask to our plane. Down here in our script, I will pick terrain. Okay, for duration, I will do something really high. Damage and radius, that doesn't really matter for this demo. I'm going to hit play so that we can see these values affect our tire. Movement to 1 or 10. Actually, let's leave it at 0 for now. Rotation speed to 50, that's okay. Let's make it really fast, so 500. Too fast. Let's just leave it at 100. Spin speed to 10, and you may see it move very slowly. Let's increase it to 100. 1000. I think 200. No, 400. No, actually just 200 is fine. Now, if we take a quick look at our tire height, this is how far from the ground it is. We can check this value in our transform's Y position. So if we set it both to 0, then we will see it clipping through the ground. Now go play around with some of these values until you have something that fits your game, and also create a 3D model for your tire to make it look even better. Here's what I created. Also, these are the values I am using. That's it for this tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is a very small channel and every like and subscribe helps out a lot. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.